basically what I did was when I was in the 6th grade, I was in the library and I bought a book. It was the March Forward Girl book, and basically this video is just going to be a summary of the book and basically what it means. So this book was written by Melba Pattillo Beals, and it was also illustrated by Frank Morganson. And what this book is basically about is just a deeper, more understanding of how segregation really affected African Americans, and how most books about segregation and mostly talks about the whole more historical background or the statistics of it, but this book mostly talks about how her experience as an African American woman and how it affected her to her day. If you want to read this book, you can read it. It's more guarded to teens for them to understand how hard it was growing up African American or Black, as you can say. In this book, there are many chapters. Just for one was about how her family was visited, or when she was at church. That's when the Ku Klux Klan came, and it was a very traumatic thing for her. And another thing about her is that she was a part of the nine African Americans, a group of African Americans who went to an all-white school. And if you watch some of her videos, she talks about how hard it was, and that even at some moments she felt like she couldn't do it anymore, but she still did it, and she was still able to push through all the things that happened to her. If you want to read it, you can read it. It's just a book about how, especially during BL, Black Lives Matter, it really explains how we felt like we were suffering and that we weren't being heard. And it can really give you, and if you don't understand it, it can give you a more understanding of it and our history of how, in this book, it basically explains how, like, her surroundings and how different it was out here, of how different it was up north and how different it was in the south. So yeah, if you want to read it, sorry it was like a short video. I just wanted to go over the basics of a summary of it, of how it just talks about how it's just her experience and her family's experience and what she felt, and a more deepened and understanding of how she felt and how others of her family felt. And if you don't, and basically, just to help you get a good detailed explanation of it. There are some chapters that are really hard, but they're more to a kid genre if you want to watch it, or sorry, if you want to read it. It's more to a teen genre of where you can understand it without, I'm sorry, you can understand it. So yeah, but yeah, it's more, it's a really good book. It really explains. There are some illustrations of her. She talks about how, even though it talks about more stuff, because when we think of segregation, we all think of it was being of whites against the blacks, but then we also get to understand that it wasn't just because of that. It was also just how dark you were. Well, not how dark you are, it's just that how I think in a chapter, she explains of how she felt like her brother was being treated more differently than she was because he was lighter. And you can understand if you do more of research on that, of how it was colorism in that time as well, for where it was because he was a lighter skin that she was, that he was treated more differently, and he was not given a pass, but more of, it wasn't as traumatic as it was for her. Also, it just talks about different topics that were happening during the time, and if you really look at it during these times, you can see how it kind of connects on how things still change, still things that they did not change at all, and that it can give you a further explanation of it, and how it's better for you to read it than to watch it on the news or to watch a video of it, because I think when you read something, you can get it in your mind and you can actually see it and you can actually hear them and hear what they're saying than if you just watch it in the video and you see them visually, if you're a visual learner. But I just think that if you read it, you can picture it and you can see the struggles that they were facing. You can see the heartbreak that they felt. You can see what happened and how it affected them as they grew up, and how when there are all these marches and how the Little Rock came and they made a huge change, and how there are so many, and how they came to an all-white school and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to read it, it's called March Forward Girl. It's in your libraries. It's age appropriate. It's more to teens, but if you're younger, I wouldn't really recommend it, but I would recommend it to more teenagers if they really want to understand segregation if they're learning about it. Also, teachers, it's a good book. It doesn't have many curses, but as it talks about things that she was called as if like the N word and stuff like that. And yeah, so if you want to watch it, I mean, sorry, read it. I'm sorry. Yeah.